Good morning, and thank you for joining us for this segment of Live Healthy. I'm your host, Lauren Collar. Acid reflux. Lots of people experience it, but did you know you don't have to feel the burn? There's ways you can actually beat the burn, and Dr. Michael Michelle of Somerville Medical Center is joining us here today to tell us all about that. Thank you for joining us.
Sure. Reflux is a problem with what's called the lower esophageal sphincter. It's a valve problem. A lot of people have the misconception that it's an acid problem, and that's how we typically treat it with medications to reduce the acid. But if we understand the concept that reflux is a valve problem, the appropriate way to treat that in some cases is fix the valve. So what most patients will experience is what's known as heartburn, which is a burning sensation right in the middle of the chest. And that can be very troublesome for some people. Certain foods can trigger that. A lot of folks notice that when they lay down, it gets worse, and that's because you got gravity working against them. Many patients recognize that they don't sleep very well because of this disease. Some people sleep up in a recliner. Some people sleep elevated on pillows to try and help that.
So people that are avoiding certain foods and not sleeping well, a lot of times you say they haven't come in, but they could have come in a lot earlier to get relief.
This is true. A number of folks will buy over-the-counter medications to try and treat their disease, or they'll be started on a medication which just then gets continued despite the progression of their disease, and they might not recognize that it's progressing and becoming worse. The biggest risk factor for Barrett's esophagus is reflux. The biggest risk factor for esophageal adenocarcinoma, which is on the rise in this country, is Barrett's esophagus. Now, fortunately, though, the incidence of adenocarcinoma of the esophagus is very low, but it is still something that we should pay a little bit more attention to than I think most people do.
If someone's symptoms are worsening, what should they do?
They definitely need to get in contact with their physician. Depending on certain factors, they may need to take the next step, which is upper endoscopy. Take a look and see if there's any damage to the esophagus. Maybe do an acid test, check the function of the esophagus to determine if their disease is progressing and if they're a candidate for something more than just medication.
Thank you, Dr. Michelle, and thank you for being here for this segment of Live Healthy.
Live Healthy is sponsored by Trident and Somerville Medical Centers and provided as a service to you and your family.